Testing 1, 2. Let's try this for the third time. Hello?
Who's there?
Oh, hi Gordon. Yes, everything's okay now. Strangely enough, I've tried it on a different browser.
Yeah.
On Firefox, and it seems
Yeah.
okay. So basically, I'm John Patterson. I'm talking to Gordon Bowden. I travelled up to Derby on Wednesday to see some more forensic documents. I will say, Gordon, when I worked on the ships as a casino manager, I used to have to balance the cash desk, which was a manual cash desk,
Yeah.
and the slot machine percentage sheets.
Yes.
And in terms of forensic paperwork, nothing really is as accurate, I would say, as because everything has to balance. Now, I must admit, when I saw your file and the way it was color coded and the way you'd done everything in sections and chapters, I mean, I'm telling you now, I was very impressed. So basically, what Gordon's going to talk about is our meeting in Derby, and I'll over to you, Gordon.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thank you for coming up to sharing this, because it's
Pleasure.
It's really relevant to yourself.
Yeah.
And anybody else that wants the truth on massive fraud, theft, and money laundering, which ultimately affects every single person in the United Kingdom. We're not talking trivial amounts. We're talking hundreds of billions of pounds that disappear from the banks, financial institutions, where there is no answers other than toxic debt, which is the simplest way that politicians get out of it, without anybody looking at the forensic detail of the mechanics of how this money has been lost.
Exactly, and this is money that should have gone on hospitals, schools, infrastructure. I mean, once people, because we've done a couple of these videos, Gordon.
Yes,
I think once people understand how this affects them personally and their children, and who's been robbing them, I think people start to pay more attention and hopefully start sharing this information. Is that you or me?
Pardon?
There's a lot of interference. I've never heard this before. Can you hear that? In the back? Hello?
Hello?
Are you hearing that interference, Gordon?
No, I'm not hearing anything other than your voice.
Okay. It's probably just this end. Sorry, Gordon. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that everybody that goes through life have their own priorities to be able to concentrate and focus on managing day-to-day life. You know, being able to afford the rent or the electricity, the heating, food, presents for children at Christmas. Everybody goes through their own fight in life just to exist at the moment. And I've been trying for the last 13 years to help people, albeit in a small way, to get a grasp of how serious organised crime affects everybody in the United Kingdom. But very few people will understand or know that there are billions of pounds being stolen by a syndicate who operate and also fund political parties. And those senior politicians, in their wisdom to grasp a lot of dirty wonga, turn a blind eye to this organised crime syndicate. And they operate on the stock exchanges and multiple other networks conducting billion-pound fraud, and it's being operated daily. And that's why I think one of the people who contacted me a few weeks ago plays a relevant part in uncovering how serious this is, because he was a whistleblower to me through Peter A.
Yep.
Okay, basically we set up a safety meeting with a journalist who is an ex-Met police officer. I believe he was a close protection police officer, as well as a long-serving, respected Met police officer. And his name was Dave Eden. And we set up a meeting to disclose various accusations made by the brother, who was the whistleblower to me, of a senior businessman operating out of the City of London, Monaco, and Australia. Well, he operates all over the world, and it's involving oil, gas, and mining fake companies, and the money laundering structures used to move hundreds of millions of pounds by way of electronic transfer to corporates set up all over the world, out of the reach of our Financial Services Authority or the tax authorities. And so our meeting, which was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there were going to be 4 people present who were going to be part of a structured group. There was to be myself, Gordon Bowden, yourself, John Patterson, John Andrews from Anglesey, and a gentleman called Doc Holliday, who writes for various share magazines. I think he writes for Share Profits and a few others that I'm not quite sure about at the moment. However,
Gordon, can I just say,
yes.
There's a lot of, is your connection loose? Because at this end I'm getting interference.
No.
Okay, go ahead, we'll just see how it works out. Okay.
Nothing. I'll move the mic closer if that's any better. I've got full volume on as well. So
yeah, it's okay now. Yeah.
Yeah. So the 4 of us were going to meet with Dave Eden to make a disclosure in order to protect the whistleblower who lives in Australia, who has, over the period of 3 weeks, divulged to me by way of documents that he sent me as a CC recipient and direct recipient of sequential emails naming his brother, addresses, companies, and the corporate entities he controls. And because this is such a serious allegation made by his brother, where he clearly states that the brother living in London and operating out of the City of London threatened him with his life and his son's if he was to reveal any of the shenanigans that his brother's been up to for the last 30 years. Now, I don't know whether I should mention the gentleman concerned, or should we keep this as an anonymous?
I think, because we know Gordon, I
Yeah.
think at this stage, yeah, let's just not mention it.
Yeah.
Unless you think it's a good time, I'll leave that to you.
No, I don't. I'd say at this moment in time, I don't think it's a good time to name the whistleblower.
Yeah, yeah.
There must be things happening in the background, because I know for a fact that the brother in London is quite worried, and he's made a sort of proposition, which I believe has been rejected by the gentleman in Australia.
Yeah.
However, he's been pressed because he's been threatened to be evicted from the property that he looked after his late father or their late father. The person in London did not attend the funeral of their father, or any memorial service, which is quite strange to say itself.
Very unusual.
This man is a multi-millionaire. He could hire a private jet and fly 50 or 60 people to to a memorial service for his own father.
Sure.
So there's a humanitarian side to our trying to protect this man, and the information that he's released to me, which clearly gives a structured company set up in Australia. I'm going to name the company. It's Delstar International Pty Limited, and for those that can research, they can then find out who's really involved without naming them. Do you understand?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a company set up and structured in Australia called Delstar International Pty Limited, which also had a subsidiary company structured in London, and that company was Delstar Intern Limited, which was, short, interns short for international. So there are two corporate entities with two different separate corporate numbers that were set up, and I'm assured by the person in Australia that this company in Australia was set up to move assets from parental companies in the United Kingdom and other foreign countries to Australia for personal use, as in paying off people, purchasing property, which in terms of the law as tax avoidance, and which should fall under tax avoidance and money laundering. So that's protecting yourself, John, myself, Doc Holliday, and John Andrews down in Anglesey, and Dave Eden and his girlfriend who was in attendance, and I'm sure took full reference to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So at the meeting, I disclosed quite a large ring-bind A4 folder, which has got about 600 pages in it, which was sectioned and chaptered into various aspects of a 3-week overview of all the corporate documents and emails that were sent to me, which have been hard copied, downloaded, and then put onto a portable hard drive for safekeeping, held at another location.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that there are duplicates of every single email and every single corporate entity document, which covers everybody in regard to safety of duplication. So,
I would have thought, Gordon, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if the government had these documents, they would be classed as top